So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here about BSN Network. You back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Monday, April 12th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their weekend. Yesterday, hopefully they had a good weekend and had a good rest of their day yesterday, coming out of another big weekend of sports, mainly baseball and more baseball. Rangers were on yesterday, Nets were on Saturday, but a lot of baseball has been on. I've been very much enjoying it, and it's been great. It's been great to see baseball back. It's been great to watch baseball. It's been great to just have baseball back. And obviously the Yankees are not off to the start we would like to be off to with a 4-5 record. We did get the win yesterday, which was big. I feel like that's a big game early in the year, right? You go through all the games. April games aren't too meaningful, although you do want to start off the season strong. If you start off the season 5-12, it's going to be an uphill climb the rest of the way, trying to get over that 500 mark, trying to make it to a playoff spot. So you don't want to fall too deep in a hole. Falling to 3-6 early in the year for a team that's supposed to make the World Series, or not supposed, a team that has a roster to make the World Series, is unacceptable. So we did get the win yesterday. It wasn't pretty. We had a lot of mistakes late in the game. Base running mistakes, offensive mistakes, that costed us, and we now sit here talking. We are talking about a win, but it was an extra innings win. That game, there was no need to go into extra innings, but I'm not going to complain. We got the win. That's all that matters, and now we start up a 3-game set against the Blue Jays, an interesting one in Dunedin, Florida, at their spring training home. As we all know, the Blue Jays cannot play in Toronto due to COVID restrictions. Can't go over to Toronto. The Blue Jays can't. Obviously, they're the Toronto Blue Jays. They play their home games in Toronto, so they're not allowed to go over the border. So they have to play here, or else they just don't play, because that's how the NHL did it. With all their Canadian teams, they made one division. So here with the NHL, or here with the MLB, they can't do it. So for the first part of the season, they're going to be playing in Dunedin, I believe, until like June or so. Then it gets too hot, so then they're going to have to go switch back up to Buffalo, which is where they think so. Unless if Canada opens up in about 2 months, which they're obviously hoping that's the case, but with the way it's looking like now, it looks like they'll just play back up in Buffalo, which is where they played last year. So they've done a lot of different stuff to the stadium there. It's going to be odd to be watching a baseball. It's going to be odd to be watching a regular season game at a spring training stadium. Like, there's no seats and stuff in the outfield, so it's going to be looking like you're watching a spring training game. So it's going to be interesting. Although I thought that last year with Buffalo, it was also a little weird in Buffalo. So going to be a little different, but nonetheless, baseball's on tonight. So the Yankees played tonight. Rangers took another tough loss. I mean, it's just constant and that's one thing I want to say. You know, at least the Rangers are in games. I mean, if you want to be a glass half full kind of guy, at least they're in games. And this is a team that's going through a rebuild. They've obviously got a lot of young talent. I strongly believe definitely next year, I think we should definitely be a solid team for the playoffs. I think if we make some offseason acquisitions, we had a big year, not this most recent offseason, year before that, getting Panarin. So we gained a lot more cap space this year. Going to next year, I believe, we're going to have more of that kind of money available, and we're going to try to take advantage of it. I think we might make some big splashes in the offseason. I strongly believe this is a Rangers team that's headed in the right direction. It's just, I guess just now, this just isn't it. This just isn't it yet. We're not there yet. And I thought at the beginning of the season, a lot of Rangers fans thought at the beginning of the season, playoffs were a realistic possibility. Did I say we were going to make the playoffs? No, I said it's a realistic possibility. I said I wouldn't be surprised if going into the final 5 games of the season, we're playing meaningful hockey games. I didn't say Stanley Cup. I didn't say win a playoff series. I said getting to the playoffs, or at least playing meaningful games down the stretch, is definitely a possibility for the Rangers game, for a Rangers team. We're doing the first thing. We're playing meaningful games. I mean, we got, 15 games left in the season? We're still playing meaningful games. We're only 4 points out of a playoff spot. So realistically, we win 2 games and the Bruins lose, we're tied. And we have a 4-game set coming up against the Devils. Like, those are 4 games that we can easily win. The Devils are one of the worst teams in the NHL. They're probably the worst outside of Detroit Red Wings and the Buffalo Sabres. So we have an opportunity to take 4 straight games. We've got to take advantage of that. So we'll see how it all plays out. But the Rangers took a tough loss. We did gain a point because we went to overtime. Just a tough loss. Filipino had the puck against the boards. Just couldn't get it away. Got it stolen. Passed it across the ice to the slot. Wrister just right under the arm of Shesterkin. I mean, couldn't do much about it. We had the puck. I mean, there was two on one there in the corner up against the boards. Lindgren, I believe, would have been on. I'm not sure. He kind of poked a little bit up in front. All he had to do was literally tap it and it would have been gone. But good pressure by the Islanders. Stole the puck from him. A pass to the slot. It was a goal. Tough way to end the game. But we did gain a point. Nets got crushed on Saturday. Don't really want to talk too much about that. We got smoked. But we played today against the Timberwolves, so hopefully we can bounce back. But yeah, that's what I got for kind of the New York Sports Update. Mets got rained out yesterday. Jacob deGrom, absolute dominant. 14 strikeouts, 8 innings. And guess what? The Mets don't score a run. So that's just another point for me to just go to show how good Jacob deGrom is. And another thing, too, is of how useless the win-loss record in baseball is. Because that's a game that Jacob deGrom did so well, and the win-loss record isn't going to show it. So that is big, I think, for MLB, as big for the Mets. When your ace goes out there and throws 8 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 14 strikeouts, didn't walk a batter, which I think might be the highlight of all that, and only threw 96 pitches, I believe. So he was efficient. It wasn't like he threw 120 pitches. He was efficient, which means he didn't get into many deep counts. Those strikeouts were 4 or 5 pitch counts. They weren't 7, 8, 9 pitch counts. So we'll get into all that good stuff to finish out the podcast. But the topics we got today, NHL Trade Deadline is obviously today. Handful of trades have already been made. To be honest, I find that a lot of trades are being made before today. Yesterday there was a lot of trades being made. Overnight there was a lot of trades. Taylor Hall, which is what I'm going to get to right now, got traded overnight. So the Sabres have traded Taylor Hall to the Boston Bruins. I talked about Taylor Hall a couple days ago with all the rumors surrounding him. I said I could very well see him getting traded to the Boston Bruins. I said maybe Jake DeBrusk. That's not the case. He did get traded to the Boston Bruins, but not for Jake DeBrusk. Taylor Hall traded the Bruins. Sabres get Anders Bohork, and I think that's how you pronounce the name, and in a second-round pick. So obviously the Sabres are getting rid of Taylor Hall, who didn't work out for them. I talked about it a million times. I'm gonna talk a little bit about it now, and then I'm gonna kind of get into the actual deal. But Taylor Hall, Jack Eichel, Sabres experiment just didn't work this year. It did not work out. It was terrible. Worst team in the NHL right now. So they decided to get rid of Taylor Hall. Jack Eichel is not on the move. I believe that if Jack Eichel is going to get traded, it's going to be in the offseason. But I don't even think he's going to get traded. Kind of after looking at it, it's kind of be one of those things that... you know what, like, just, he's still young, build around him. Just build a foundation around him. We'll see how it all plays out. But the Sabres make a big trade. Taylor Hall, big name in the NHL. He's still a very big name, even though he's not what he used to be. But I'll tell you why the Bruins this could be a move that really benefits them. And I could also tell you why this is a big move for the Sabres. I think this is a move that could benefit both teams. I believe both teams got what they wanted in this deal, so we'll get into that. Then, as I always said, Mock Draft Mondays. It is Mock Draft Monday. It's my first of a couple, and then we'll obviously do the full mock draft. So I decided for Mock Draft Mondays, I'm not going to do all the teams. I decided to just do the Jets picks and the Giants picks. So I believe the Giants have 6 picks. Jets have like a ton. I can't even count. We have a ton. We have like 8 or 9, I believe, something like that. We have a lot of picks. So I went through. I have Draft Simulator on my phone. So what you do is you pick teams who you want to draft for. You could pick all 32, which is what I'll do on draft day. And you can only pick one team or whatever, and it gives you your grade for each pick at the end of it. Really great. If you want to use it, it's a great thing. So I did that, did my mock draft. I picked for the Jets, picked for the Giants, obviously the 2 New York sports teams. I kind of really wanted to hone in on a couple of the picks. As we get to the late round, 5th, 6th round picks, I'm going to talk about them, but I ain't going to go too in depth. I've heard of the players because I do so much draft research, but I don't know too much about those players in the late rounds. So I kind of want to talk about the first 3-4 rounds. And in the final rounds, I'll tell you the players and kind of tell you where they can fit into the roster. So we'll get into that. Then we'll finish off with the New York Sports Update. Obviously, Yankees played today. I believe the Mets also played today. They open up a series against the Phillies. Their game got rained out yesterday, which will be, I believe, made up as a doubleheader on August 31st, I think I saw. I don't know if that's that, but definitely that. So I don't know if it's that or if it's August 31st. I think it was something like that. It was the 31st of some month. I'm not too sure what, but it will be a doubleheader. Obviously, their game got rained out yesterday. And then today, the Yankees play. Rangers have a day off. Nets play today. Mets open up a series against the Phillies. Speaking of the Phillies, you see that call last night? I was watching the Rangers game, and I turned on Sunday Night Baseball, watched the final 2-3 innings of that game. After the Rangers game was done, it was like I could watch it was like the 8th inning, so I watched the 8th and the 9th. In between commercials with the Rangers, I was keeping up with it on my phone. And you see that call with Baum at the plate, Alex Bohm, I think, at the plate. Was he safe or out? I took a look at that thing 7-8 times, and I'm still looking at it. I don't think his foot touched the plate. I think the call was it wasn't catcher's interference, but I think it was actually kind of a realistic option to put down catcher's interference because Travis d'Arnaud was kind of in front of the plate and Bohm kind of had to go around him. So they didn't say that was the call, but it did seem like it might have been catcher's interference. I didn't think he's touched the plate, though. Leave a comment down below on that, though. I didn't think he touched the plate. I think what I saw, if anything, Travis d'Arnaud was in front of the plate, which blocked his straight line of getting home. But yeah, social media is going wild. Sports radio is going wild. It's crazy. It's a big topic today. It's going to be talked about all today. So I don't know if he was safe or out. I don't think he touched the plate, but I do think d'Arnaud was kind of guarding in front of the plate, which he had to go around, which is illegal in the MLB. You can't guard in front of the plate. You gotta have the runner have his fair space, and you also have the catcher have his fair space. The runner can't slide into the catcher, but the catcher also can't stand in front of the runner. So it's kind of a 50-50, and I don't think Travis d'Arnaud gave him all of his space. But anyway, with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So Taylor Hall traded to the Bruins. Sabres get Anders Bork and a second round pick. Obviously, this is the biggest move so far of free agency, without a doubt. By far the biggest move of free agency. Obviously, NHL Trade Deadline has been officially announced, and obviously today is the NHL Trade Deadline, so I believe 3 p.m. Eastern today. It's such a specific time, the NHL Trade Deadline, so this is the deadline to make trades after today. There won't be any more trades. The final 15, 20 games left in the season. Down the stretch here, a lot of these teams are going to be trying to make a lot of runs, and they're going to be trying to add to their rosters. You'll see contending teams add, and you'll see teams that you'll see contending teams buy, and you'll see teams that don't really want to contend or kind of in a situation like the Buffalo Sabres sell. We could very well see the Sabres make even more moves. They already made a move, I believe, yesterday or 2 days ago. I forget the player who was traded. It was a small move, but they sold. They got, I think, a pick or something. So they sell there. Then they got rid of Taylor Hall. They sell there. So the Sabres are selling, the Sabres are selling, and the Sabres are selling. And the Bruins happen to be buyers in this situation, which makes sense. A team that's standing in the fourth seed right now, the last seed in the East Division. And the Rangers are right behind them in the 5th seed, 4 points behind. So obviously the Bruins, a team that is definitely trying to make a playoff push, is in the playoffs, but they're one of those teams that's borderline. They're in, but they're not serious. They're not safe. They're not in a safe position. They very well could go on a 2-3 game losing streak, and the Rangers could go on a 2-game winning streak. And the Rangers, I would say, if you had to have the easier end of the schedule, the Rangers have that. They have played 4 straight games against the Devils here. I think that's a golden opportunity for the New York Rangers to take advantage of that. It's a golden opportunity for the New York Rangers. We've beaten the Devils this year. We beat them twice? I think we played 4 times, I think, right? Was it 2 home and then 2 on the road? So now it's 2 more home and then 2 more also on the road. I think we're away, then we're home, then we're away, then we're home. Or no, I think it's home away is how it goes. I'm not too sure though. But yeah, we've played the Bruins, Devils, I believe 4 times this year. We're playing them 4 straight games here, which is almost like a playoff series in a way, because it's 4 games. We'll see. But this is a golden opportunity for the Rangers to take advantage of that. And I think the Bruins, not saying they made this deal because of the Rangers, but I think they realize, you know what? We're not fully in a position to make the playoffs. we're in a fine position. We're in the playoffs right now, so we can't complain. We can't sit here and complain. But we're not safe. We're nowhere close to safe. We're 4 points ahead of the team. We're 4 points ahead of the New York Rangers, also 4 points ahead of the Flyers, I believe. So we're 4 points ahead of the Rangers. We are not in we're not in a secure position to make the playoffs. We're in the playoffs right now, but it's one of those things, 2 games, boom, we could be out of it. So I think the Sabres went out. They got Taylor Hall. They added a veteran to a locker room that could have used it. This Bruins team has got a pretty veteran-based locker room. Marchand has been around. Pasternak's been around. Tuukka Rask has been around. They've got definitely some guys on that team that's been around. But they do have some youngsters like Jake DeBrusk. Bohork was a youngster. He now got traded. They're getting the guy from the. They're also getting Curtis Lazar, who I don't think he's too old. I would say he's not a veteran, but he's not too young. So the Bruins are about a mix. They're about a mix. They're like a team that's, and I'll get to the Sabres in a little bit here. They're about a team that's, mixed. They got some youngsters, DeBrusk. They had Bohork, but they traded him away. And then they got some veterans, Marchand, Pastrnak, Tuukka Rask, Taylor, all more veterans than youngsters. But it's evenly spread. It's not like so many veterans and very little youngsters. It's a little bit of a mix, which is good for some teams because the veterans can teach the young guys and the young guys can learn from the veterans. And, sometimes those guys can well. So I think personally for the Bruins, and I know a lot of people are going to look at what Taylor Hall did this season and kind of just judge him off of that, and I can kind of do that the same too. I can kind of sit here and say, hey, you know what? I could kind of sit here and say, hey, the Bruins. I could sit here and say, hey, maybe Taylor Hall going to the Bruins could very well help him out. And I know a lot of people are going to base off of what Taylor Hall did this season and kind of say, oh, the Bruins are so bad. Why are they trading for Taylor Hall? This is terrible. This is so bad. All that stuff because he had a terrible year this year. He only has scored 2 goals for a guy that's supposed to be a goal scorer, scored 2 goals this season. 2 goals. That's it. Only 2 goals. And it's not like he's missed extended time. He's been a healthy scratch these past couple of games. But that's also because he was looking to get traded. This is a guy who's played the majority of the season. He's only had 2 goals this season. For a guy that is known for being a goal scorer, at times actually people call him a little bit of a puck hog because sometimes he shoots so much and he tries to score so much. This season he only scored twice. And there was a lot of opportunities for him to score and he just missed those opportunities. So you can look at it that way. Or you could look at it the way I'm looking at it 50-50. The Sabres got rid of Taylor Hall, right? They got rid of a veteran. They got rid of a guy that they didn't need. He's 29. I know it's kind of weird that he's only 29, but he's been around in the league for a little bit here. The Sabres got rid of them. They didn't need him anymore. The whole Eichel-Taylor Hall combo just didn't work out. It not even didn't work out. It was atrocious. It was awful. It was a big flop. They went out, got Taylor Hall. Eichel was happy about that. Sabres fans finally feel like, you know what, we got a solid foundation here. And it just blew up in front of their eyes. So the Sabres get rid of Taylor Hall, a guy who they did not need, and now they definitely look towards the future and trying to build. And the Bruins get a guy in Taylor Hall who maybe he feels more motivated, and a lot of people say this, and I believe this too. He might have just not been playing well straight up because he was on the Sabres. And sometimes when you're on a team that's really struggling and you see these other guys, playing well in a playoff spot, when you're on a team like the Sabres, and a lot of people don't realize that, athletes, players, it does affect them when they're not on a playoff team. It does affect them. And in this case with Taylor Hall, it might have affected him. He might have had no drive to play for the Buffalo Sabres. It might have been one of those things where he was like, you know what, we have no opportunity, we can't do anything. I'm not in a good place here. This is just terrible. He might have lost motivation in a way. And it obviously hasn't worked out. Eichel's injured, who was supposed to be his main teammate to go to and rely on. Eichel was supposed to rely on Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall was supposed to rely on Eichel for big plays, chemistry, right? All that stuff. Taylor Hall very well could have just not had motivation. And maybe now he goes to a Bruins, a team that it might be even better that this is a team that's fighting for a playoff spot. They're in right now, but they're not secure. Because now he has something to truly play for. It's not like he's going to a first-place team that's already clinched their spot, and they could care less if they lose a little bit the rest of the season. This Bruins team is still trying to get in. They're in right now, but they're not comfortably in. They're only 4 points ahead. And maybe you bring in Taylor Hall, a guy who has experience, a guy who's a veteran, a guy who is going to bring some veterans presence to the locker room, and maybe because he's on a contending team, maybe because he actually has something to play for, unlike he did with the Buffalo Sabres, maybe he takes advantage of this opportunity. I'm not saying he looks like Taylor Hall when he won the MVP in 2018, but maybe he's a more competitive, a guy who's going to be more of a team player, Taylor Hall. That's maybe what they get. Maybe they get a slightly revamped Taylor Hall. And you could tell Taylor Hall was getting frustrated with the Buffalo Sabres. You could tell. You could tell he was getting frustrated with the Buffalo Sabres. And you could tell the time was up. And the Sabres, to look at the Sabres side of things, the Sabres got rid of a veteran. They got rid of a guy they did not need. It did not work out. And I always go back to this. Don't be mad it happened. Be happy it's over. Right? This did not work out for the Buffalo Sabres. And sadly, this move, I feel like, put you deeper into a rebuild. It looked like you were coming out of the rebuild. And you look like you were kind of coming out of the rebuild. Now I feel like you just took a couple steps back and you're even deeper where you were a couple years ago. And the Sabres now will look to build towards the future. As they get a second-round pick, which isn't ideal. And it is the Bruins, so if the Bruins go on and make a run in the playoffs, it's not going to be that great. But it is a second-round pick. And I don't always like to judge picks just because they're late rounds, because there's been a lot of players in all sports leagues that have come out in the late rounds and been dominant. I mean, I'm not just... no one's going to be Tom Brady, but Tom Brady was picked, 5th, 6th round? Right? No one expected him to do anything. He's a Hall of Fame. He's the best quarterback of all time. So I'm not saying that second-round pick is going to be the Tom Brady of the NHL, but you do get a pick, and hopefully that pick works out. So the Sabres got rid of Taylor Hall. The Bruins got him. They also got rid of Curtis Lazar. And obviously the Bruins now will receive Taylor Hall and Curtis Lazard. And the Sabres receive Andres Bohorak and a 2021 second-round pick. So that's this year's pick, too. So you could straight on, hey, we're picking this year out of that. That's not a pick 2023, 2024 pick or next year's pick. That's this year's pick. That's a pick this year you can start building this season. And yes, the Sabres did not get much. If this was a trade that happened 3 years ago, teams would be giving up so much. But his values dipped. His values really dropped. And because he struggled with the Sabres and he is out of his prime and he's not the Taylor Hall we used to see. But maybe this is one of these things where he goes to a team that's contending. He actually has something to play for. Maybe he's a little bit of a new, fresh, revamped Taylor Hall. We'll see how it plays out. But Taylor Hall traded the Bruins. Sabres get Andres Bohorak and second-round pick. The Buffalo Sabres traded star forward Taylor Hall to the Boston Bruins on Sunday. I don't like that whole star forward thing because he hasn't been a star this season. But this is the full trade detail. So the Bruins acquired Taylor Hall and Curtis Lazar from the Buffalo Sabres in exchange for Andres Bohorak and a 2021 second-round pick, as I mentioned just a minute ago. Sportsnet, Elliot Friedman first reported the news Sunday. The 2018 Hart Trophy winner, which is the NHL's version of the MVP, has struggled for form since agreeing to a one-year, $8 million deal with the Sabres last offseason, posting 2 goals and 17 assists in 37 games before Buffalo was able to find a suitable offer for him. Things have gone terribly for the Sabres in 2020-2021. Captain Jack Eichel has played just 21 games this year because of an injury. The club was prohibited from team activities for 7 days following a COVID-19 outbreak in February, and head coach Ralph Krueger was fired 12 games into an 18-game winless streak. It was during that streak, Hall told reporters he would be willing to waive his no-movement clause. The Sabres began holding the 29-year-old out of games a week before the trade deadline to ensure their top asset didn't get injured, increasing the likelihood the former number 1 overall pick wouldn't finish the year in Buffalo. The Canadian will now join his 4th team in 3 years and its 5th franchise since entering the league following his stints with the Edmonton Oilers, New Jersey Devils, and Arizona Coyotes, and obviously this year the Buffalo Sabres and now the Boston Bruins. Joining a contender should help Hall rediscover his scoring touch, and having some more talent around him certainly won't hurt. The one-year experiment with the Sabres may not have worked out, but he still has plenty to offer in the NHL. So, like I mentioned, quick article by the way, like I mentioned with Taylor Hall, is he going to turn to the Taylor Hall we used to see? No. And first of all, he's only going to be with the Bruins for about 15 games. Maybe they go into the offseason and maybe he does something. Maybe they sign him to a 1-year deal. Maybe if it works out, they sign him to a 1-year deal. This could very well just be a move that they sign him for the rest of the year. It's one of these, veteran minimal. Boom, at the end of the year, he's a free agent again. Maybe they sign him again. We could very well see that happen. Is he going to turn into the Taylor Hall we saw when he won the Hart Trophy, we saw when he entered the league? No, I don't think he will. But could it be a new revamped Taylor Hall? And what I mean by that is a guy that's going to go out there, give you quality ice time, make shots, because let me tell you, this year, and I know this because I've seen him play this year, the Rangers have played the Sabres 8 times. I believe Taylor Hall was in all those games. I've seen him play, believe me. He has not looked good. And it was actually the Rangers announcer that mentioned how he does not look motivated. He just doesn't. When he was with the Sabres, he just didn't look like he even wanted to be out there. And his shot was off. He had a lot of opportunities. Those opportunities, some of them he passed to different players, which not Taylor Hall. For a guy that's known for scoring, he doesn't usually pass the puck when he has an open shot. And for a guy that, when he had an open shot, he's not going to make it every time, but I've never seen him miss this much. So it just didn't work out in Buffalo. And maybe a fresh start, maybe a new team, maybe a contender. He might have a little bit more drive. He might have a little bit more kind of, all right, now I'm actually on a contender, like a little bit more like, he maybe gains a little bit more back. It was almost like he was losing a little bit of the love for the sport when he was with the Sabres. I don't mean that in a negative way to the Sabres, but maybe he was. He might have just not felt so motivated. He might have not just felt like he even wanted to be playing with them. He goes to a new team, and maybe now he just sees this as a fresh start. Like, just pretend the Buffalo thing never happened. Pretend this is the season. Pretend that you're just coming in, and it's your first start of the season. That's how I would look at it as Taylor Hall. Forget about Buffalo. And Buffalo Sabres fans should do this, and Taylor Hall should do this. Both sides should. Sabres fans should forget about Taylor Hall and forget about that because it was terrible. It failed. It hasn't worked out. And Taylor Hall should forget about the Sabres, forget about that, and pretend like this is a fresh start to the season. Pretend like it's a 17-game season? Pretend like it is. Pretend like this is the first game of the year, and you're trying to make your presence felt, right? Or pretend this is the playoffs, and say, hey, we got about 15 games. Let's go out and win them all, right? So, if you're asking me from a Rangers fan's perspective, I mean, obviously, if you're asking from a Rangers fan's perspective, if I like this trade or not because the Bruins got him, I'm not overly concerned. And even if Taylor Hall does start to play decent again, pretty good, I'm still not overly concerned because it's not the Taylor Hall he used to be. And also, I'm just not. If you had asked me now if the Rangers are going to make the playoffs, it's going to be seriously hard. But I don't think this makes the Bruins' chances increase by that much. But it doesn't decrease it a little. It might increase it a little bit. But I think for Taylor Hall, I think definitely on an individual level, I think he's going to start playing well. And maybe he won't fill up the stat sheet, but he might be showing a little bit more hustle. He might make a couple more hustle plays. His forecheck might be better. Maybe his passing's better. Maybe he might not score goals much, but maybe his shooting will be more on. There were some shots that he was just shooting wide that were just awful. Shots that the goalie didn't even need to flinch. They were so whack. Maybe he starts to get more shots closer. And that could be something the Bruins maybe do. Put him in front of the net. Put him, somewhere like that, right? Do something like that. And do something like that. So, we'll see how it plays out. But let's just look at some of the numbers for Taylor Hall and just go to show you how he struggled. Let's just look at some of the numbers Taylor Hall has this season, just to go to show you how much he has struggled this year, and kind of to show you that he isn't the Taylor Hall we are used to seeing. This is his numbers this year. Obviously now he's on the Boston Bruins, but 2 goals, 17 assists, 19 points this season, and I don't really want to compare him to his recent years, but if you look at some of his other seasons, this This is a guy who has put up 220 goals in his career. He has put up 220 goals in his career and only 2 this season. So he obviously hasn't added on to that. I don't want to compare him to his, but look at his, MVP season. Look at his, I believe this was an MVP season. He scored 39 goals. 39 goals, 54 assists, 93 points that season. That was his MVP year. And I don't want to compare him to his MVP year, but he's just not the same. And you even go back to some of his younger years in Edmonton, 22 goals, 27 goals, 27 goals, 26 goals, 20 goals, 39 goals. He's a scorer. When he came into a league, many people knew how dominant he was going to be as a scorer. He obviously played 6 with Edmonton. Then he played 4 years with New Jersey. Then he played 1 with Arizona. This year with Buffalo. Now he's with the Bruins. So I wouldn't call him a hopper around the league because he played 6 years with Edmonton. Then he played 4 years with the Devils. But the past, 3 years here, he's played Arizona last year, this year, and then this year. So he's played with 3 teams in 2 years. 3 teams in 3 years, something like that? Because he played with the Devils. He played with the Devils and Arizona both in that 2019-2020 season. So he did. So he played with the Devils and he played with Arizona both that season. So that was 2 teams. And then this year he played with the Bruins. So 4 teams in 2 years, which isn't ideal. And obviously recently just hasn't been great. And it just hasn't worked out. So he heads to Boston now. He's played 37 games this season with the Bruins. 19 points, which is the lowest in his career. And to be honest, even with the Devils in the 30 games he played the year that he got traded midway through the year at the trade deadline to the Coyotes, he scored 6 goals, 19 assists, and 25 points. So he had even more points than he did this year, and he played 7 last games. So by far his worst year of his career. By far a guy that has struggled. By far a guy that is not the Taylor Hall we were used to seeing. But maybe he goes to the Bruins, and maybe he gets a little revamped and plays better. And I don't mean that by he's not going to be Taylor Hall when he was with the Devils. He's not. He's not going to be the Oilers' Taylor Hall. He's not going to be the NHL MVP Taylor Hall. But maybe we find a little bit more hustle, and maybe we see a little bit more aggressiveness, maybe a little bit more of his love for the game comes back. And maybe they get flashes of Taylor Hall. We'll see. But anyway, so let's get into my NFL mock draft here coming up next here. Comment down below your thoughts on the Taylor Hall trade. A lot of other trades today. I will probably talk a little bit more tomorrow on the trade front. And we'll probably talk a little bit more tomorrow on the trade front about just all the different trades and all that kind of stuff with the Yankees and obviously or with the NHL. And also the Yankees also made a trade and they optioned Domingo Germán. But I wanted to talk about my mock draft. So coming up next, I'm going to give you my mock draft. So this is, I'll just tell you all about it coming up next. Mock draft, Jets and the Giants. Not all the NFL teams, just Jets, Giants. 7-round mock draft coming up next. Alrighty, so this is my mock draft here. So it is mock draft Monday. I kind of made it up, although a lot of people do it. Not that I got that idea from people. I kind of just figured, you know what, last year I didn't do it. This year I'm kind of deciding on, thinking about doing it. So I'm going to tell you my mock draft for the Jets and the Giants. So it is mock draft Monday. It's kind of, I guess you can kind of say mock draft 1.0, although I didn't do all 30 of the NFL teams. And the reason I didn't do that is I just figured, I've done a lot of research so far, but I like to do that on draft day. The final, all 32 teams, or all 32 picks, because I don't believe every team has a first-round pick. All 32 first-round picks. I probably won't go, I might second round. I'll do my second round when we get to the second round the next day, right? Because the second round's on a different day. So I'll do my first-round picks, then I'll do second, third as we get later. So that's what I usually do for my full mock draft. On the day of the first round, day of the draft, that's what I usually do. Now, I decided last year I didn't do it. Now, as crazy as it may sound, coming up, it's already going to be a year of me doing these full podcasts. Because I remember this time last year, I started with doing the mock drafts and doing all the drafts. And I remember talking about how how this week we got a lot of mock draft stuff coming up, but there was no sports on at the time because obviously everything going on with the virus. So that was something that's why I started it, to kind of, post stuff, give people some stuff to watch and stuff. And also to talk about the draft, because I love talking about drafts, especially the NFL draft. All the other drafts I like talking about, but the NFL draft's just so much fun. And I love talking about it. I love watching it and stuff like that. So I decided to do my mock draft today. Jets and the Giants. Bear with me. It might not be great. I'm kind of it's my first mock draft, so this very well could be completely outrageous. Some of these could be completely odd picks. But I kind of decided to, now this was off of the Draft Network. So if you go online, you just put up the Draft Network. There's 3 little bars at the top right hand corner. When you press on it, it says mock draft. You press on that mock draft. It gives you a whole list of teams. It gives you all 32 NFL teams. It gives you what each team, or what team do you want to choose. Do you want to choose to draft for this team? You could pick all the teams. You could pick all 32 teams and just do that. That's what I'll do on draft day. Or you could pick just one team. You could pick 3 teams. You could pick as many teams as you want. I decided to pick the Jets and the Giants. And at the end of it, you have to put your email and stuff in. At the end of it, it gives you grades. Now, I didn't do that because I was kind of just wanted to do it, put it on the podcast, and that was it. So that's kind of how it works. So it's a very good site. It's very good. I much enjoyed it. I usually put them on paper, but I found this, and I've seen a lot of people using it, and I've kind of been like, you know what? This is just so much. This is 10 times easier than going one by one on paper. I decided, you know what? I'll just get it on here, and maybe I could transfer it over to paper or something. That's how I always figured. So, but anyway, so obviously that's what you got to obviously do. Just kind of that stuff. So it's super fun. It's obviously just a mock draft app. So bear with me if some of the picks don't sound great or they don't sound ideal. I put the other teams on simulation, which is what you got to do. So whatever the other teams picked is what they got. So some teams took players that I disagreed with that left me to get some other guys. So, like I said, this is personally what I think in this situation. Now, each time the simulation is a little different, which is why I think it's best to draft with all the teams, because you could pick who you think. This, though, for example, there's a player that fell to the New York Giants that I don't think will fall to the New York Giants. I'll tell you who that was. At the 11th pick in the draft, in this simulation, he fell to the New York Giants. I do not think he will in the regular NFL draft. But if he does, Giants got to capitalize on it. So here we go. So I'm going to do it all the way up to Jets have the pick 226. That's the last. So obviously, the Giants this draft only have 6 picks. They have 2. They have 1 in the first round. They have 4 in the top 116, and they have 2, 196 and 201. So 5 picks. A 5-pick difference there. So anyway, so let's get into this. So with the number 2 overall pick in the Jets, the Jets hold currently number 2 overall pick in the draft. I have the Jets selecting Zach Wilson, quarterback, BYU. I think this is an obvious pick for the New York Jets. I think this is very obvious. Right. First off, the Jaguars are going to take Trevor Lawrence. There's no doubt about it. If they don't, it's got to be one of the dumbest draft decisions ever. They're going to take Trevor Lawrence. And I think the Jets take Zach Wilson. I think everybody will. All the people I'm sure watching this will believe that. I think it's almost guaranteed now that the Jets are going to take Zach Wilson. I feel very comfortable about it. A lot of people saying it. Joe Douglas, the Jets GM, in his interview after he traded Darnold, kind of hinted towards it, kind of was saying, obviously we still got a lot to get done before the draft, but, obviously we had a great meeting with him and stuff like that. Zach Wilson is going to be the quarterback of the New York Jets. I can almost guarantee it. He's a very good quarterback. I love him coming out of college. And, I love what he did in BYU, especially this most recent year. And I think this is a guy that you put him into the right system. He's West Coast offense, offense that likes to run with quarterbacks a lot, offense that likes to throw the ball deep downfield. This guy's got incredible good accuracy, and he's a very mobile quarterback. And this league's turning into a mobile quarterback league. Almost every quarterback now has developed some sort of run game, whether that's like Lamar Jackson or not. Every quarterback now can at least escape the pocket. Brady, former quarterback Breeze, really didn't do a great job at that, but mainly now quarterbacks are turning mobile. Zach Wilson is exactly that. He's a mobile quarterback that would fit into a system, play action, West Coast offense type system. He's also a guy, too, that's very smart. He's very smart at the line of scrimmage. Play action, West Coast offense is something that you're going to have to read a lot at the line of scrimmage. You're going to have to really read at the line of scrimmage. If you see the defense is doing something, you audible. A lot of times West Coast offense is quick, up-tempo, right? Switch at the line of scrimmage, all that kind of stuff. Zach Wilson can do that. Number 2 overall pick, Zach Wilson. This is obvious. Number 11th overall pick, which is the Giants' first pick of the first round. Devontae Smith, wide receiver from Alabama. I have the Giants taking here. Now, I could very well see the Giants going offensive lineman here. I think that might be the smarter move. But I think if Devontae Smith is available, you got to capitalize on him. In this case situation, Devontae Smith was available. And I was surprised by that. I know there's been a lot of hype around Jamar Chase. There's been a lot of hype around Jalen Waddle recently. But I still think Devontae Smith is probably the second best receiver in the draft. And I think that a team could very well take him in front of the Giants. And a team that, like the Lions, a team like the Lions who lost Kenny Golladay, right? Marvin Jones Jr. is a little injury prone. A guy you could very well fit a guy like Devontae Smith right onto that roster. A team like the Bengals, who could very well use they're either going to go offensive lineman or Jamar Chase. You got teams like the Dolphins who could use another receiver, right? Devontae Smith and Tua with the Dolphins. I think that's a very well possibility. So, Devontae Smith, very good receiver. Very quick, can catch the deep ball. He can catch the mesh route, turn it upfield, very quick receiver, right? Very, very, very quick. Now, one thing I noticed with Devontae Smith, though, is he's on the smaller side. So, one-on-one deep ball downfield might not be his strength, but he can haul those in. And if he falls to the New York Giants, I think there's no question the Giants have got to capitalize him. And then the Giants can take an offensive lineman, but the Giants are going to have to make a decision, though. You either go Devontae Smith wide receiver here, or you have to wait till your 42nd overall pick in the second round to take an offensive lineman. There could be a lot off the board. Maybe Creed Humphrey's there, who very well could be a great possibility. But I think if Devontae Smith's available for the Giants, they got to take advantage of him. They got Kenny Golladay. They got a youngster in Darius Slayton. Sterling Shepard, when he's healthy, he's a solid player. But obviously, if you can keep adding around Daniel Jones, he could use as much help as he gets. I would say take Devontae Smith here for the New York Giants. This will be the Jets' second overall pick in the first round. This will be the 23rd overall in the draft. I have the Jets taking Rondale Moore, wide receiver, Purdue. I've been high on him since day one. If Rashad Bateman and Rondale Moore are both available for the New York Jets, I would go ahead and say you got it. It's kind of Joe Douglas' decision. Whoever you take, that's okay. But I liked Rondale Moore in college. He's quick, very strong, and very quick. You very rarely see a guy strong and very quick like he is. And another thing that blew me away, too, about him was his pro day. What he did at his pro day was just something else. His 40-yard dash, his vertical was just something else. And I liked him when he was at Purdue, and I liked him even more now after his pro day. And obviously, Rashad Bateman's really good. I have a feeling Rashad Bateman's going to be taken earlier. So I think the Jets, if they get Rondale Moore here, as much people might want to go cornerback or offensive lineman, I say you go Rondale Moore. I say you take Rondale Moore here, continue to build around Zach Wilson and build around this receiving core. You got Corey Davis, you got Jameson Crowder and Denzel Mims. You could add another one in Rondale Moore, which would be fabulous, and you got Keelan Cole as well. So the Jets slowly but surely are building up this receiving core. I say they take Rondale Moore here. Then the Jets have another pick, 34 overall in the second round. This is the third overall pick in the second round. So in a way, this is almost like this is like a 3 first-round picks. I have the Jets taking a cornerback, Khalib Farley from Virginia Tech cornerback. This is a guy who I believe has a lot of really good first-round talent, a guy who I believe very well could be taken first round. I think you could make the argument he's the third best cornerback in the draft, outside of maybe Certain and J.C. Horn. But it's a guy who's very good. He's versatile. He could play both. He could play a couple different corners. He could play corner 1, corner 2. And if the Jets aren't going to re-sign Brian Poole, you're going to need a guy like Caleb Farley who's going to come on, make tackles, make plays, especially late in the game. Very good cornerback. I've been eyeing him for a pretty long time now. On this, he fell to number 34. In the real draft, I don't know. I very well think that he very well could be taken with the first-round pick. And the Jets might take him with their first-round pick at the 23rd overall. So if he falls here, I think this is almost like a no decision for the Jets. I think this is almost like one of these things where it's, or not a no decision, like one of these things where you don't even hesitate. You got to take advantage. And unless if J.C. Horn or someone like that who's supposed to be top 10, top 15 falls, Caleb Farley, very good, quick, strong, a guy who, hard worker, very athletic. This would be a good move for the New York Jets. So number 34 overall, I have the Jets taking him. I want to say something too. The Seahawks have the least amount of draft picks this draft. They have 3 draft picks. The Jets have 3 in the first 34 overall picks. So it's pretty crazy to think that the Seahawks throughout the whole draft only have 3. It just goes to show you how much draft capital the Jets got. So 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 picks this season for the New York Jets. And that's big. 10 picks for the New York Jets. That's huge. So, and obviously we continue to, gain some picks. Alrighty, so number 42 overall, which is the New York Giants here. The Giants have been talking about edge as a need. I have them taking Gregory Roche. He's actually from Miami, edge rusher. He was from Miami. He's with Miami. Played very good with them. I've seen him play a ton of times. I'm not great with his last name, I'm going to be honest with you. But a guy who is also very good. And a guy who, an edge rusher, a guy who's going to come on day one. He's experienced. I've seen him play in Miami. Very quick, athletic. He could play edge, right side, left side. He could play, honestly, both sides of the line. He can do it really all. He can do a lot of different stuff up there. Very quick. A guy that's quick getting off the line. And a lot of times, that's what the Jets got in Carl Lawson. I find sometimes that's what's so big in edge rushers, is how they come off the line. It's not so much their sacks. It's not so much their quarterback hits. It's how they come off the line. Because they come off the line quick. Like Carl Lawson comes off the line with some of the... he's up there with the quickest in the league coming off the line of scrimmage, which causes chaos for offensive linemen. Causes chaos for quarterbacks. You see the guy at the corner of your eye getting up that quickly, pushing the offensive lineman towards you. That just limits your time for you. Quarterbacks already have about this much time. Someone who gets off the offensive line quickly goes down about this amount of time. And you go up against a team that doesn't have a quick, good offensive line, you're going to get smoked. I think this would be a great pick for the New York Giants right here. A guy who, too, many believe might be a first-round talent. But he has fallen a little bit. The rise of some players kind of made him fall a little bit down in the ranks. He was available. If this is a guy who's available with the 50th, 60th overall pick in the draft, some teams got to take advantage of him. Giants take him here. 66 overall pick, I have the Jets taking Brady Christensen, offensive tackle. I just thought, offensive lineman. I've heard of him a couple times, just looking through different mock drafts. Is he going to start? I don't know, but a guy who the Jets could build depth and possibly be a starting offensive lineman. Number 76 overall, I have the Giants taking Chaz Surratt, linebacker out of North Carolina, a guy who went to North Carolina. I've seen him play a couple times this season. Guy who went to North Carolina. Went to North Carolina and obviously played at North Carolina. But when he went there, he went there for a quarterback. He went there to play quarterback. Didn't work out for him. Didn't do good. In the offseason, he ended up training. Came the next season in built like a linebacker. They put him at linebacker, and now he's going to be an NFL draft pick. So I believe this is a steal right here for the New York Giants if they get an opportunity to take him. So that would be that. 86 overall, another Miami player, Quincy Roche, edge, the Jets. The Jets have not had good history drafting edge rushers, but I figured you got Carl Lawson. I figured, you know what, might as well take an edge. This might not even be a guy who starts. Could just be another guy. 107th overall for the Jets. Kind of surprised he was still on the board, but Trey Sermon, I'm sure most of you know who he is. He played in a national championship game, running back from Ohio State. Great power back. Then 116 overall. I have the Giants taking Shaun Wade, cornerback. A couple months ago, a lot of people thought this was going to be a guy who was going to be drafted early. Obviously, they're wrong. He's still very solid. But if the Giants can take advantage of this, I think that would also be good. Then I have the Jets taking Dylan Moses, Bryce Thompson, Trey McKitty. Then the Giants, Alaric Johnson, Alaric Jackson, Drake Jackson. Then I have the Jets rounding out the draft, 226th overall, Demetric Felton, wide receiver from UCLA. Deep ball threat, athletic, later round draft pick. But I've also seen him play a couple times. So that's kind of what I got for my mock draft. Comment down below what you think of mine, or your favorite team, or you could do your own. Who do you think the teams are going to take? I would love to hear that. Mostly just draft stuff, though. Like, who do you think that, like, for example, like, if you're, whatever your favorite team is, who do you think your favorite team is going to take? What do you think about my mock draft, or any of that stuff? Jets, Giants stuff. Any of that stuff is good, as always. So let's get into the New York Sports Update and finish out this podcast here on this Monday. As for the weekend, Saturday, the Nets got crushed. Kyrie's now out for personal reasons. Again, kind of interesting. But today we got the 76ers Mavericks. I'll give 76ers the win. Knicks Lakers. I'll give Lakers the win. Spurs Magic, give Spurs the win. Grizzlies Bulls, give Grizzlies the win. Pelicans Kings, give Pelicans the win. Jazz Wizards, give Jazz the win. Nuggets Warriors, give Nuggets the win. Suns Rockets, give Suns the win. Nets also played today. Nets come in this game 36-17. Timberwolves come in this game 14-40. Nets are 6-point favorites. The over-under is 236 for this game. This game comes on today, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Yes 2. Harden and Irving are out. A lot of guys are out this game. It's going to be close. I give the Nets the win, I guess. It's going to be really close, though. It's going to be a close game. A lot of guys are out for the Nets. Going to have to rely on KD big time here. As for the Rangers, yesterday they lost 3-2. We moved to 19-16-6 on the season. Another tough loss. Get to overtime. We just lose. So we're 2-4 now in overtime, and then we're obviously 0-2 in a shootout, I believe. No. We've won in the shootout before. So we've won in the shootout. So what? We're like 1 because we were 2-3. 1, that's 4. We've got 6 overtime losses this season. Okay, so we're 1-2 in the shootout. So we're 2-4 in overtime and 1-2 in the shootout. Because we lost to the Sabres in the shootout. Then we beat the Flyers in the shootout. And then we lost to the Penguins at the beginning of the year. That was, I believe, the game we blew the 3-0 lead. And we ended up losing 4-3. That was that. So we were 2-4 in overtime, and then we're 1-2 in shootouts, which is combined for 3-6 in overtime. So, obviously that's, 2-6 overall. That's 8 overtime games we've been in this season out of our 41, which isn't that many, considering some teams have had a lot of overtimes this season. So, yeah, I can't complain too much, but if you want to be a glass half full kind of guy, which I'm not always with sports, I kind of got to be better with that, I believe, kind of being glass half full kind of guy. I kind of always look at the negative side in sports. This is how I am as a sports fan. I've gone through a lot of suffering with sports. Sometimes it's tough to be a glass half full kind of guy. But at least the Rangers are competing, and at least they're playing meaningful games. I mean, at least they're in a situation where they're playing meaningful games down the stretch. They're not getting blown out. If anything, they've blown out a couple of teams. It's just they're that sometimes I feel like sometimes close games are even more painful to lose because you have the game. We were down 2-0. We come back 2-2. Like, you had the game in your hands. Like, we had opportunities. We had an open net. Sabanich had missed. Like, we had opportunities. We had a 2-on-1. We had a 3-on-1, actually. Pass got caught up in Miller's skate, and it ended up translating on a breakout, on a rush the other way. So, we just got to be better, I believe, in a little bit of our offensive zone, too, just setting up. Getting to the slot. And that's something that happened yesterday, too. I believe it was Ryan Lindgren. He shot the puck. It got deflected by an Islanders player's skate. Hit the post. It hit the post. Hit the crossbar, actually. So, sometimes, not even if you don't have a clear lane, just shooting the puck, just getting the puck to the front of the net could cause all sorts of issues for the opposing team. We've seen that with Chris Kreider. A lot of his goals this season, it's a shot, and it's a tipped. It's a shot, puts a stick out, tipped. It's a shot, hits a skate, in, right? All that kind of stuff. With the players in front of the goalies, the screening of the goalies, all the sticks, the skates. If you could just get a shot in front of the net, things can happen. Goals can be scored. I feel like the Rangers got to do a better job of that. I feel like we're so focused on trying to find the perfect shot. Hockey, it's tough to find the perfect shot. And it's tough. You can't wait for the perfect shot. And I feel like that's sometimes what the Rangers are doing. Like, shoot the puck. Lindgren did that yesterday. It hit the crossbar. Yes, it didn't go in, but it hit the crossbar. It was a couple inches away from being a goal. No matter if it hit off a player's skate. I don't care if the goals are ugly. It's a goal. So we just got to be better with that. As for today's games, we got the Blackhawks, Blue Jackets. I'll give Blackhawks to win. Jets, Senators. I'll give Jets to win. Maple Leafs, Canadians. Give Maple Leafs to win. Red Wings, Hurricanes. Give Red Wings to win. Wild, Blues. I'll give Wild to win. Avalanche, Coyotes. I'll give Avalanche to win. Golden Knights, Kings. Give Golden Knights to win. And Sharks, Ducks. Give Sharks to win. As for the MLB, Yankees lost on Friday, then lost on Saturday. They won yesterday 8-4. So, not a great series, but we did salvage that final game. Today, we got the Twins, Red Sox. I'll give Twins to win. Padres, Pirates. I'll give Padres to win. Orioles, Mariners. Give Orioles to win. Mets, Phillies. Peterson, Anderson. I'll give Phillies to win. Anderson's on the mound for the Phillies. Peterson's on the mound for the Mets. This game comes on today, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time at SNY. Mets are 2-3. Phillies are 6-3. I'll give Phillies to win. Mets are the favorites, but I'll give Phillies to win. Let's see. What are the numbers looking like? 54% of the people are betting on the Phillies. 48% are on the Mets. Which is, the line is the Mets are 1.5-point favorites. So, that's interesting. But I'll give the Phillies to win. Rays, Rangers, I'll give Rays to win. Braves, Marlins, give Braves to win. Brewers, Cubs, give Brewers to win. Cardinals, Nationals, give Cardinals to win. Royals, Angels, give Royals to win. White Sox, Indians, give White Sox to win. Astros, Tigers, give Astros to win. A's, Diamondbacks, give A's to win. Reds, Giants, give Reds to win. Yankees also play today. Yankees come in this game 4-5. Blue Jays come in this game 4-5. The game comes on today, 7:07 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find this game on Sportsnet and Yes Network. Garrett Cole's on the mound for the Yankees. Robbie Ray's on the mound for the Blue Jays. I believe that's right. Yes. So, Cole's on the mound for the Yankees. Ray's on the mound for the Blue Jays. The over-under is 9 for this game. This game comes on today, 7:07 p.m. Eastern Time on Yes Network. The Yankees actually come into this game with a 1.5-point favorite. So I guess I'll give the Yankees to win. Their ace is on the mound, Garrett Cole. You always feel confident when he's on the mound. Although it's our hitting. It's our hitting and scoring with runners in scoring position. Now, that's big. I mean, if we could score runners in scoring position, that would be ideal. As for fantasy baseball, I won my first game. So that's always great to start off on a strong note. I won 514 to 425. So it's always great to start off on a good note. Today I've got going Yadier Molina, Matt Olson, Jake Cronenworth, Gene Segura, Carlos Correa, Whit Merrifield, Alex Bregman, Christian Yelich, Austin Meadows, Victor Robles, Dylan Carlson, Michael Taylor, and Yerman Mercedes. Still got some lineup stuff. And I got Garrett Cole, Tyler Glasnow, Chris Bassett all going. Obviously, Cole headlining that. As for the injury report, Bregman's day-to-day. Bregman legs are a little sore, which is why he's not in Saturday's lineup against the A's. Brian McTaggart of MLB.com reports. So we'll see how all that plays out. He didn't play, so he's day-to-day. And then Yelich is considered day-to-day after leaving Sunday's win over the Cardinals due to lower back tightness. Adam McCalvey of MLB.com reports. So hopefully that's nothing major. And then, Josh Donaldson, by the way, an update on him. Donaldson hamstring felt good and didn't have any issues following Sunday's simulated game at the Twins' alternate training site in St. Paul. Do Hyung Park of MLB.com reports. So he should be coming back soon. And then, obviously, Donaldson should be coming back soon. So hopefully he is. That would be a big boost. As for fantasy basketball, I lost... let's see here. I lost 1,180 to 1,781 to 1,180. Obviously, didn't play good. Today, I've got going Kyrie Irving. I moved to 7-8 on the season. Today, I've got going Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal, Anthony Davis, and Jonas Valanciunas. My fantasy basketball team right now is hammered with injuries. A day-to-day, out. So 2 day-to-day, out. Day-to-day, and then 2 guys out. So... Kyrie Irving's out. He's got personal reasons. Then Bradley Beal is also day-to-day. He's probable for today's game, which is good. Anthony Davis is still out. Van Vliet is out. Miles Turner is out. Trae Young is still day-to-day with calf. Then Jeremy Grant is out. And then Victor Oladipo is also out. So, a lot of injuries there. And as for fantasy hockey, I lost again, which wasn't good, but I lost 136 to 110. So now we head on over to playoffs. I did not end the way I like to. I was 7-3. I finished the season on a 3-game losing streak, but hopefully I can create a little bit of a win streak going here. And now we begin with playoffs. So I'm 7-6 on the season, heading into playoffs. Today I've got going on says Kopitar, Braden Shem, Nicola Ehlers, David Perron, Jeff Petrie, Shea Theodore, Shea Weber, Jacob Kitchrin, Justin Falk, and I got Kaapo Kahkonen in net. Injury report there. Steven Stamkos is out. Stamkos' lower body will not play in Saturday's game against Nashville and is considered doubtful for Tuesday's rematch. Joe Smith of The Athletic reports. And Ryan Nugent-Hopkins IR. Nugent-Hopkins' upper body was placed on injured reserve Saturday. So I made some roster moves. So I placed him on IR, and then I got rid of Jack Eichel, removed him from IR, dropped him, and then I added Ryan Strome from the Rangers, who has been playing really good this season, but yesterday he did not play that well. So hopefully my team can get better. And I mean, what's confusing me a little bit is this is the team that has gotten me to the playoffs. This is the team at the beginning of the year that had me at a 1 seed. And I haven't made many changes. So I don't know if it's just the fact my team is just going through a little bit of a skid right now, or if they're just struggling. And I mean, hopefully we can start winning. Hopefully we can get better. But obviously it's playoffs. So obviously playoffs, you obviously want to win. You want to win as many games as you can in the playoffs. I want to win the championship. I believe I have the team to do it. I mean, I was the 1 seed for a couple weeks there. So, and I haven't made many changes since. I was thinking about picking up Jean-Gabriel Pageau as he scored a goal again yesterday. I was thinking about picking up him, but then I picked up Ryan Strome. Kind of might be thinking about it again. I'm trying to get Nugent-Hopkins is a big loss for me with the going IR. And then obviously Steven Stamkos too is one of the best players in the NHL. Also not great, but hopefully some of these other guys, these guys I drafted lower in the rounds, have been stepping up all season long. Hopefully they start to step up here. So, but yeah, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.